Hi, so this lesson is going to be on a Lee Hazlewood song called We All Make the Little Flowers Grow. And the tuning for this song is in standard tuning. And yeah, after you get your guitar into that tuning, you'll be really set to go. And as always, if you do kind of like the stuff that gets done on this channel, it would be awesome if you do like the video or subscribe and all that stuff. So yeah. What I'll do is just go through the song, and it's pretty straightforward. So it just starts up with this chord progression. And then it gets into a little bit of a solo. Alright, so starting with the chords that get played, it's a G, and I'd suggest fretting the G chord in this way rather than this also common fingering that people will use. The reason is that if you use it this way, then it's a lot easier based on your shape to just go straight into the C chord that gets played right after. But yeah, starting with this G chord is the 3rd fret of the bottom string, 2nd fret of the 5th string, open 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings, and then 3rd fret of the top string, which I'm sure all of you guys know. And then the 2nd chord is a C chord, which I'm sure you guys also know. And then the thing is, you'll also fret the 3rd fret of the top string. So this 3rd fret of the top string is constant, is a common note between the first 2 chords. So you'll almost feel like you're just constantly fretting your pinky, and then these 3 fingers are what's coming, like lifting up and down. And you can kind of get used to that. Maybe you can understand why it's nice to fret the G chord this way, because it's so easy to switch back and forth. Okay, now the 3rd chord that gets played is this D7 chord, except it's not really a usual D7 chord. It's fretted this way, where it's the 5th fret of the 3rd string, 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and 5th fret of the top string. Then alongside that, you can also play the 4th string open and the 5th string open. And so now adding that together, the chord progression, so those are the 3 chords, but the chord progression will go G to C, back to G, and then finish on the D7. So it'll go D, G, D7. And yeah, that's really the whole thing, and I kind of sometimes feel like I'm kind of riding on my pinky finger the whole time, like as if that's the finger that connects my hand to the neck or something like that, just because it's constantly getting fretted, whereas the other fingers are lifting on and off from the G to the C. But then also when you go to the D7, it slides up. So it's constantly, you never really lift it off. It's always kind of fretted there. And that kind of can help a little bit, thinking of it like that, I think, maybe, for, you know, just getting comfortable with switching the chords, just knowing what to lift and what not to lift, just to be more efficient in terms of the chords that way. And yeah, so that's really the chord progression. So it's a 1, 4, 1, 5, if you were thinking of it with the numbers, the number system thing. But yeah, so getting into the solo that gets played, there is a specific single string solo, but rather than going through it note for note, which would be kind of a lot to just remember each individual note, I thought I could also just give a bit of a formula for what you could play as the solo. And even if more of the thing that you're used to is doing the more of a minor pentatonic kind of single string soloing, the way that you could think of this solo is just based on some chords. So this chord, so the 1, 4, back to the 1, and to the 5. Which is really the same as this, but just up here. So that you're kind of just playing around the chord. So the chords are, those 3 chords are 9th fret of the 4th string, 7th fret of the 3rd string, 8th fret of the 2nd string, 7th fret of the top E string. So actually, I should say that it's more of a bar across the top 3 strings, 7th fret. Then you add in that 8th fret of the 2nd string. And then you can add in the 9th fret of the 4th string. Second chord is almost like the top 4 strings of a major bar chord off of the 8th fret of the bottom string. But just for the top 4 strings, it's the 10th fret of the 4th string, 9th fret of the 3rd string, and then top 2 strings, 8th fret. So now you've got this, and you got this. And then the last chord that you can think of is as a bar across the top 4 strings, 7th fret, and then you can add in the 8th fret of the top string. And of course, this isn't so much of a blues song, but just for that blues connection, this is where, for Robert Johnson's standard tuning songs, he'll do stuff like this. He'll kind of use this chord shape too to solo. But here, yeah, this is the 3rd chord. So you've got this, 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 and this. So now you can use these, break these chords up in different ways. Like that. Kind of like that. And there are some other notes that you can kind of add in, like for example, for this first chord, you can add in the 10th fret of the top string. And then for example, on this chord, you can add in the 12th fret of the top string. 12th fret. And then for this chord, you can add in, say, the 10th fret of the 2nd string. And 9th fret of the 5th string. But yeah, that's kind of the formula, and it's all using really strong like arpeggio notes, which I think explains why it sounds so clear as a solo. But yeah, that's kind of roughly a formula that you can use to kind of emulate the solo that gets played. But overall, that's that song, and I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and see